Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Rod Family of the Philippines here, and today we're going to discuss a thing called the gay lens. Okay, and we'll get into that in a minute. But first, I want to remind you that thank you for those of you who have helped us, but we are desperate for money. We really are stuck. YouTube is essentially a dead loss for income. It's terrible, and I really need the support of viewers and fans and subscribers, even just a little bit, as much as you can afford. Doesn't have to be much. Price of a pint every month. You know, if 1,000 of you did that, we would not have a problem. Simple as that. I know that there are people there who have contributed, and some of them have contributed very substantial amounts of money, and I'm really, I find myself very moved by that and deeply grateful. But we still need it, and we still need more, and we need them to be repeated. So please, go to one of the sites that I'm about to give you the URLs of and just give a little something. Price of a pint. £3, $4, something like that, every month. What is that? It's nothing, What is the gay lens? Well, a few years ago, you may remember, if you're British, and this may have been repeated on US television, there was a show called The Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, which was awful. It was a terrible thing. And it was all about how these gay guys could make straight men look better. This program, The Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, ended up just making a whole bunch of perfectly normal, ordinary looking straight guys look like gays, which I don't really think was terribly helpful. However, leaving that to one side, I had a conversation last week with one of the regular commenters on this channel on YouTube, and we were talking about how the gay version of masculinity has become so dominant. And if we were to look back, really even 30 years, but particularly if you were to go back to the 60s and 70s, men just didn't look like that. They didn't. Masculine men didn't look like prima donnas. They didn't shave their bodies. They didn't look like they had loads of balloons under their skin, all pumped up. They didn't have that. They were just ordinary, fit-looking men. If you look like the great icons of the era that we're talking about here, people like Sean Connery, Paul Newman, Steve McQueen, well, all of them, all of these great actors were not these ripped, bulbous things that have become so popular now. Tom Cruise today is very unusual because he's not like that. He's just an ordinary fit guy. And so we were asking ourselves, why does this model, and why has it become so popular as an icon of masculinity? And the answer is, that's what gay men, a new gay man, that is the NGM, that's what the new gay man finds attractive. He's not looking, ordinary feminine gay men just want ordinary masculine straight men. It's as simple as that. Of course, they can't have them because we live in a culture where straight men aren't allowed to have relationships with feminine gay men. So the gay man has to transition. He has to complete his transition, in fact, complete himself as a woman, and then he can present in a feminine manner as a woman, and he's going to be attractive to straight men. Or at least more straight men. The gay man, the new gay man, actually has a very similar condition to what we call autogynephilia, in that he has autoandrophilia. He's in love with the idea of himself as a masculine guy. And so just as you'll see within autogynephiles, you get these ridiculously accentuated boobs, bottoms with 4 gallons of silicone in them, you'll see lips, the B lips, and you'll see all of these things being done by the AGPs because they think it's feminine. It's like this extremely exaggerated uber femininity. And it's not really feminine at all because it's too much. It's like a masculine version of femininity. It just doesn't work. I've said once, these people are the ideal woman from a man's point of view, and to an extent that is actually true. So what's happening in the other side of it is you've got this gay lens, which has started to make the idea that that cultural icons of masculinity should look like gay men, or should look like the ideal that gay men pursue, which will be a gym fly who shaves his body, probably wears a very particular kind of haircut, is something of a dandy, etc., etc., etc. We know, because studies have been done on this, that women do not find this particularly masculine or attractive. Women generally are much more attracted to a likely slightly more comfortable body shape. I mean, just to take an example, the current British Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, is well known as a swordsman. Really, really well. He has had beautiful women falling at his feet all his life. And he is, let's be honest, he has had his share. And yet he looks like a total slob. His hair is like mine all over the place. His sensitive suits is a joke, and when he wears a suit, he makes it look like it just fell out of a hedge. And yet women are falling over him. They absolutely fall over him. They think he's totally gorgeous. He doesn't go to the gym. He isn't all ripped and pumped. He isn't expressing the gay idea of what masculinity is. He's expressing real masculinity. And in fact, his really masculine men, actually, they're kind of like me, that's it. That's what you see is what you get. They're not constantly performing. And a tendency constantly to perform and to be, something of a dandy is regarded with suspicion by other men. They go, there's something funny about that one. Why is he so obsessed about the clothes he wears and all the rest of it? It's not because men are really hostile to the idea of homosexual males. Most of us are like, yeah, well, that's fine. It's not a problem. What men find disturbing is the idea of someone who's trying to pass as a real man, but is in fact completely feminized. It's the idea of this juxtaposition of masculinity and femininity that is actually, it jars, it really jars. And of course you might say, well, what about the famous trans porn paradox, which is that trans porn is one of the most popular niches in pornography that there is. I think it's number 5 in most searches, and that's pretty high, let's be honest. You got not that much before it. Why is that happening? Because these tend to be, in fact, almost invariably are, pre-operative trans women. That is, they retain their penises and usually their testicles too. But they have significant feminine enhancements, to complete the package. Why are they so popular if, what I'm saying is that the juxtaposition of masculinity and femininity can be so disturbing to men? But then look at what happens when trans men make that kind of porn, and it does exist. There is porn where trans men, that is, people born women, and therefore who have a natural vagina, they're always pre-ops in porn, they never go for post-ops, who have a natural vagina, but they look like men, and then they're having sex with men, and most men find that I've certainly spoken to quite a few about this, and they find that like, no, I can't watch that. Oh no, that's just too much. That's horrible, that is. There's something going on here. There's something of this idea that men find very strange. They don't really like it. And they don't like it when they see what they know is really a woman, trying to look like a man. And I think in some ways that's what the point of the revulsion that has been so often commented on against feminine gay men by straight men. I mean, it's not because they're feminine, it's because it's when they're not feminine enough that there's a problem. It's like, fine, if you're completely passing as a woman, who's arguing? That's fine, I don't have a problem. But if you're in between and you're trying to be masculine when everybody can see that, no, the last thing you are is masculine, buddy, I think that does cause men problems. I think there's a psychological issue going on there, which is definitely worthy of investigation. Enough of that for today. So that's the Gay Lens.